Okay, this is technically take 2. Hey, welcome to today's video. We are doing my April wrap-up. I have 7 books to talk about. Didn't read as much as I normally do this month. I did read pretty long books for the most part, so it makes sense that I only read 7, which is still a lot. These first 4 books that I'm going to talk about, I do have videos on them. The first one is A Quarter Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series. I have a full spoiler reading vlog on this one, so if you have not read this series yet, then I wouldn't recommend watching that video unless you don't care. And this is the 3rd book in a series, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I was liking this series a lot. The first 2 books I really kind of got attached to. I wasn't one of those people who were completely obsessed. I did really like the characters. I did like where the story was going. I love the night court vibes and everything. And then we got to this one, which is basically the heart of the story. And I did not know that ACOTAR was originally supposed to just be a trilogy, so this was technically supposed to be the end of the series, which is very shocking to me because I don't think this book was a good last book for a trilogy. Don't come for me, but I was not really a fan of this one. I just found a lot of issues with the writing for me, and I think there were a lot of things that were being brought up that weren't elaborated on and just left me with a lot of questions. So there were certain things that were happening that were like, oh, this could be really important. It's very interesting. It's giving, you know, more to a story. We can go different directions, but we never got too much information on those. They did pop up towards the end of the book. They were brought up very briefly, but they were not elaborated on at all. So I was a little disappointed in that because I think it would have given to the story a lot. It would have made it super interesting. I do still really enjoy these characters. I'm very connected to them. I love their connections with each other, so I enjoy reading about them. But I just think that plot-wise, there were a lot of missed opportunities. I do think this is definitely a series that you will like a lot more if you are just focused on the romance in this and not necessarily the whole fantasy element or the plot, which I love me some romance, but I just feel like I wanted more. Since this series is so hyped up, I was expecting a good balance between the romance and the plot, but we just had more of a focus on the romance. So I was just expecting more from this. I did give this a 3 stars. Wasn't bad, but it just wasn't my favorite. Next, I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I still think about this book. I really do. I think about these 2 characters all the time. Oh boy. In Powerless, if you don't know yet, we follow our main character, Peyton. It is dual POV, so we follow Peyton and Kai. Peyton is an ordinary. We have elites and ordinaries. Elites have certain magical powers that they just thrive with. And I really love books with that concept because I love meeting new individuals and seeing what their powers are and how they bring those to life. But Peyton does not have a power. She is considered an ordinary. That is not a good thing in this world. They want to get rid of all the ordinaries. She's gone her whole life kind of posing as a psychic because it's the easiest thing to fake. To everyone's knowledge, she is an elite, but she really is an ordinary. And then Kai, we have him. He is the prince. He is an enforcer, so he's meant to go out and get rid of the ordinaries. He's definitely a morally gray character if you like that. I just really love him. I really do. He is so good with girls. He knows what to say. And it's really not him, it's really Lauren Roberts, but he knows what to say. It's definitely, oh, it's such a slow burn. It really is a slow burn, and you really don't get anything at the end, but it is so worth it. The tension in this book is there, it is perfect, and I really, really loved it. It took away from all the lack of world building, and that is just, it did it for me, and I didn't even care that we didn't get a lot of explanation with what was happening in the book. Which I will say that, for the most part, the whole plot, I really, really enjoyed. I did like it, but there was just a certain thing with these trials. There are 8 different people who have to go and compete in these trials, and there was only one winner at the end. That is where my questions came from because I didn't really understand the point of the trials as I was reading this. I just didn't really see where we were going with that. So it did give to the story, but I would have liked more information on the background of the trials. Other than that though, I did really like the rest of the world and I really liked the rest of the plot. That was just my main thing with this book. I was less confused, but everything else in this book just really did it for me. I just really loved the writing. It was very descriptive, very detailed, and I was able to put myself in this world. I really liked the journey that this book took me on, and I love our characters. The side characters were amazing. I love their personalities. I loved the dialogue between these characters. It was just good all around. Good banter, good tension, and Kai is such an amazing guy. I loved Peyton too. I'm so bad at this. I always forget to say my ratings. I gave this one a 4.5 stars. If the romance wasn't there and it didn't do it for me, I would have rated this lower, but that just goes to show you how much I loved it. I did annotate this. There's so much in here. I'm just so excited for the rest of the series and I cannot wait. This is a book that I love talking about because it was great. I don't know what else to say about it, but I'm so excited for the rest of the series. And the way that one ended, oh my god. Like, okay, it's a cliffhanger, but it's so good, but you also hate the way it ended. but I need more. I literally need July to get here so fast. I'm so impatient. Then we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This is the first book in the Blood of Stars duology, so there is Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk. I have not read Unravel the Dusk yet, but this does leave off on a cliffhanger and the ending is pretty intense, so I'm surprised that I did not pick that book up in April. We will get to it next month, hopefully. We follow our main character, Maya. She is very good at tailoring, and in this specific world, only men are meant to be tailors, so her being a woman tailor is frowned upon. And there is this girl who is supposed to become queen to this kingdom, and they're looking for an imperial tailor. So they kind of summon 12 men to the kingdom to compete in this trial competition to figure out who is the best at making dresses. This soon-to-be queen, she is trying to figure out which tailor she wants to sew all of her dresses for her. Maya's dad gets summoned to the kingdom, but he is very ill right now, so Maya poses as a guy. She goes to the kingdom herself, and she shows her talents with all of this. It's a little nerve-wracking because obviously she is a girl, but she is disguising as a guy, and you have no idea when people are going to find out, who's going to find out, and you don't know how it's going to go after that. So it's very fun to read along the way. The trials did only take up a third of this book, which surprised me because I honestly didn't really know where we were going with this. So after the trials ended, I was like, oh, we still have 2/3 of this book left. I wonder what else is going to happen. But I wasn't disappointed. We went on a huge adventure. It was very fun. And that's where this author's writing really thrives. And that's when all the magical stuff starts happening. That's when you're learning about the magic of the world. It's a very almost like natural magic, I would say. You're getting magic from elements like the sun, the moon, the stars. It's really magic coming from certain objects and not the people themselves. There is a little bit of a romance, and I really liked the guy. There was a sort of like mystery behind him. He had a sort of magic, and his role that he was playing had a little bit of a backstory, and it was interesting to find out what that was. So I really enjoyed this, and there is definitely a lot going on at the end that is pretty intense. So I'm curious to see where the second book is going to take us. I did give this one a 4 stars. I just didn't get too many emotional feelings. I didn't really connect to the characters, but the writing was so good. It's very fast paced. It's very poetic in a sense, but it's not anything too crazy. It just flows really well. And then I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This one is definitely diving into a whole new world. I really appreciated that. It was such a unique world. The writing in this one is also poetic. I really like the prose that this author gives you. It fit me really well and what I like in writing. I know that it's not for everybody, but if you want to give this book a chance, I highly recommend it. Yes, it is writing where you're getting a lot of figures of speech, which I feel like could frustrate some people, but it's just so beautiful. So we follow our main character, Rave. She is technically an assassin. She works with this group of people who are trying to do good for the world, and she is pretty much hired to go out and take out the bad people, which at the beginning of this book, we do get one of the circumstances where she is following that job. And it starts off with pretty much a mystery. So this other guy pops up. Immediately you assume he's the love interest because obviously if a mysterious man pops up, you pretty much know who he's going to be. But most of the story is a lot of mystery. I will say that you go through this and you don't get a ton of questions answered. You have to be patient with this one because you don't really find out answers until the end. And honestly, at the end of this book, there are still questions that you have, but it is part of a series, so you will get answers to that in the books to come. I'm sure of that because this author did it very well, and I know that this author won't leave anything out. You just start wondering so many things because there's things that other characters are saying that seem very suspicious, and it's like, okay, why are they saying that? What does that mean? So it definitely keeps you wanting to read, and I really love that. But there's just so many secrets in this one. You find out so many things, and it's so fun. I just feel like there's so much to this book that I don't want to give it away because I really enjoyed my time reading it, not knowing too much about this. But I will say I highly recommend this. I think it's such a fun world to be in, and I'm so stoked for the rest of the series. I did give this one a 4.5 stars. I just didn't get the 5-star feeling, but it was so high up there. Then I read Coming Out for Air by Nicole B. Tyndall. This was a book that I just bought off Book Outlet. I haven't heard anything about it, but it did sound pretty interesting to me, so I picked it up. So this one is about Hadley and Brayden. It is a young adult romance, so we're dealing with high school characters. There are deeper elements to this book. There are the cancer elements, there is overuse of drugs and alcohol, and I will honestly say I don't really remember what this book is completely about. I honestly don't remember too much of what happened. The story didn't capture me too much. The writing in this one, at certain points, it did just feel like play directions in a sense. Things were just written like this character did this, and then this character did that, and then this happened. There wasn't too much descriptive writing in this one, which isn't my cup of tea, so I just didn't really vibe with the writing of this. First chapter of this book, it immediately kicks off with Brayden in the hospital, and Hadley is not able to see him, but she's kind of freaking out. She just wants to see him so bad. Obviously, you know that they end up forming connection as this book goes on, so you're questioning what had happened to him. After that chapter ends, you are dealing with her at the beginning of junior year, and then it goes through junior and senior year. You get how Hadley and Brayden met. Then the rest of the book, you were just going through learning about their connection, how they grow with each other, how they start to become friends, how they grow their romance. You get to the conflict of the story, story, and it's a lot of those deep emotions. As the book went on, I didn't find any connections with the writing or the characters at all, but it is a very, very fast-paced read. It is something that you can read in one sitting. So I did fly through this book, which also might not have been a good thing because I don't remember anything that happened. I just think I was so very disconnected from the story. And once that conflict popped up, it frustrated me a lot, and I don't know. I just don't think the execution of it was done as well as it could have been. There were certain choices and things said by our main character that I cannot forgive, and I just think it was very, very bad. And the outcome of this story, it didn't make sense. I just don't think it was wrapped up in a positive way, and I don't really understand where the story took us. I didn't really see the point of it, and I did not see the point of the ending. I think that if you were throwing deeper elements into a book, you should be able to grow through that and be able to work through those things and form connections with people through that, and that's just not what we got. I didn't end up liking this. I did give this a 1 star. I was thinking about DNFing it, but like I said, it was a very quick read, so I just pushed through it. And then I read Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This is the first book I read by this author. I'm very curious to see if this author's writing is the same throughout her other novels, because it was very interesting. It was laid out in a way that I'm not necessarily used to, but I actually really liked it. I'll get into this more later. I kind of have a lot to say about this one. First off, I will say the synopsis of the book that you get from the inside cover. It says you have Viola, who is a vampire who is also a realtor, and then you have Fox, who is a medium, who is also the godson of death. There are a lot of immortal characters in here. You're getting a being from pretty much everything. So you have a demon, angels, a siren, a poltergeist, the medium, the vampire, a werewolf, pretty much everything. So all these characters have their different elements. Basically, there is this ghost in this house that Viola is trying to sell. She's trying to get rid of that, so that's where she connects with Fox because he's a medium, so she's using him to get rid of this ghost essentially. And I thought the whole book was going to follow that plot line, but it really didn't. So we do have that element to the story, but the story really follows this whole game thing, which is the back of the book. It says there's a game that the immortals play. There is only one rule: don't lose. Which honestly, that gives me more information on what the story's about than the inside cover. From the beginning, I really, really enjoyed the writing of this. We have our narrator who is Death essentially, and I love that. I love when Death plays a character in a book. I don't know why, but it just intrigues me so much. So I immediately liked the writing of this, and from the first chapter I was getting 5-star feelings already. But as this book went on, it went quite a bit of different directions, and the writing wasn't the same throughout, and the story didn't follow that same writing or that same feel. So that definitely brought it down for me, because I was just getting that first impression and having those feelings from the start, and then not continuing that did disappoint me a little bit. But I really enjoyed the message of the story. I really liked where we got to in the end. I think that there was a lot of filler in this book too, and because of that I think we could have gotten to the message a lot quicker than we did. And the way that this is set up, you have all of these characters. It's told in third person, so you're not getting one character's point of view. You're kind of going through every character, and it's jumping into the past, certain situations that these characters were in. You're getting little snippets of their situations and how it gives to the story. But as you go through this, you don't really know why those certain things are important until you read about them in the end. So this is also another book that you have to be patient with, but I think it is worth the wait. If you don't know that going in, it can definitely be frustrating because you're just wondering what the purpose of the book is. I have conflicted feelings about this one. I did love the writing for the most part, but when we were in this scene where all these characters were in this house with this ghost, I just didn't see the point of that portion. I think it needed like a base for these characters to be in, but that whole section just didn't really give much. I wrote one of my Goodreads update when I updated my progress on this book. I think I said like if I was in a room with all these characters, I'd be ripping my hair out and just being so stressed out because they kept saying the same things. They were talking about this game over and over and over again, and they weren't doing anything about it. They kept saying like, okay, we have to do this, and it was just pages and pages of them not doing anything. So that was frustrating, and that's what brought this book down for me. But the rest of it, like the whole game element, it does get confusing for a little bit, but it makes sense in the end, and I enjoyed that portion of the story. I think if the whole book was the game and all of the sections where we went into the past, I would have really enjoyed that a lot more. But man, when they were all in the room together and we had those scenes, it was just the same thing, and I don't know, I just think that took a lot away from the story, and I just didn't like that part. But it was definitely a journey. I still enjoy my time. I didn't have too much connection with the characters. I did give this a 3 stars. If it went a different direction, I would have liked it a lot more because I did enjoy the writing, and I liked the unique way that this book was laid out. I would still recommend this book. You just have to be in a headspace to learn a lot of new information and to try to decipher some things. It's not going to be a book that you read in one sitting or a couple sittings. I think you should just take your time with this one, not binge it. It really allows you to sit with the story and what is happening. Lastly, I finished this book this morning because I did want to fit in at least one more book for this month. This is Shadow and Bone. I had this whole trilogy on my TBR for April, but I was only able to get to this one. I feel like a lot of people know what this is about. This is young adult fantasy. We're following our main character, Alina. She was an orphan. She has her best friend named Mal. They were orphans together growing up, and they have this really cute friendship with each other. And there's a lot of people in this world who have powers. You get tested at a very young age, but when she got tested, she had no idea she had powers. She went her whole life not knowing that she was capable of doing anything. This whole attack scene happens, and she realizes that she has powers. It just comes out of nowhere, and she's very shocked about it. Her power is definitely intense. There is this guy called the Darkling. He takes her to his kingdom. He's trying to help her elevate her power, and the power that she has is known to get rid of the evil in this world. Everybody is pretty much out to get her. She is on this journey going to this kingdom. They're trying to hide her. As soon as everybody finds out what she can do, they're going to be coming after her. There's not too much that went on in this first book, so there's not really too much to say. This is also a very fast-paced read. There's definitely not a lot of backbone to this story or this world, which I wanted more from. That was probably my only complaint with this. I think it was very to the point, and there wasn't a lot of descriptions with what was going on. But I will say from the start, I didn't want to put this book down. It was very easy to read. I was very interested in where the story was going. It was keeping me on the edge of my seat. I just wanted to know more, and I want to know why things are the way they are. I would just like a little more history. I feel like this will for sure get you out of a slump if you're just looking for a very quick read, but you want some fantasy elements in there too. Since this doesn't have a ton of background, it just gets right into the story and right into the action. It's definitely not a book that I have any connections with. I don't know if I will grow connections with as the series continues, but we shall see. I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 stars. Oh my gosh, once again, I forgot to give a rating for this one. I gave this one a 3 stars. I may have said that. I have no idea. I'll find out when I edit this video. Okay, those are 7 books I read in the month of April. I enjoyed my reading for this month. I think I had some good books. I have a lot of worlds that I got introduced to that I am excited to continue reading about. That is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Thanks for chilling with me while I talk about all the books that I read. Let me know what your favorite read of April was, and let me know what book you are wanting to get to in May. Or if you just want to talk about any of the books that you read this month, feel free to comment on anything and we can talk about it. So that is it. I will see you guys in my next video, whatever that may be. I hope you have a good day, good night, whatever it is where you are, and I will see you later. Bye.